Hey, what's up, guys? This is Johnny coming to you from the Ninja Wealth Exchange podcast. We're here getting ready to launch off episode 8 here. So thank you for joining us. And we're super psyched about this because we have a special guest that we met. He's a realtor, an investor, and has been doing really, really well in the investment field. And so we want to welcome CL to our call. So,
Hi, Johnny. Hello.
hey,
Hey, Sal.
how's it going, man?
Yeah, howdy from Seattle, Washington. We have a pretty nice day today. We usually have a lot of rain, but today is, great weather, sunny, blue sky, so nothing to complain.
Sweet, sweet. Yeah. I'm here in Minnesota and we're like it's starting to get really cold.
When do you guys
So,
usually start have snow?
so usually in October 31st,
Oh,
right?
wow.
On Halloween is usually the first like
Oh, goodness.
snowfall, but for some reason we didn't get snow this year for Halloween. At least I didn't notice it, right? We
Yeah.
didn't get any snow, but my assumption is in the next like 15 days we'll probably see some snow hit the
Oh,
ground.
wow.
So
Wow.
it snows a little bit and then it kind of stops. And then, like where we are, it gets cold enough to where the snow just stays all the way through. And so it's gonna be interesting to see what this winter looks like because the last couple of winters it's been kind of warm. So,
Okay.
I'm not sure that global warming thing is true, but it seems like it.
Cool. Yeah.
So so I wanted to welcome you, and then if you could you introduce yourself a little bit, kind
Yeah.
of outside of being where your state is, but
Sure.
explain a little bit about your history, what kind of experience you have going from IT to real like being a realtor and then becoming an investor.
Sure, sure. As you can see from my background, I'm from the beautiful Seattle Evergreen State, Washington. And this mountain over here is Mount Rainier. If you fly over to Seattle, you will see it. So it's beautiful
Mm.
when the weather is good, which now it's winter. So I am Chinese, first generation immigrant. I came to the United States when I was 19 and speak some English, but learn most of my English here in the U.S. I attended college here. That's the goal of coming over when I was 19. So I landed in California first, and then ended up in Washington. And I've been here since 1997, so almost coming up 30 years. And after I graduated from college, I studied business with a concentration in information system. So back then, it's easier to get a job in the IT industry, especially during the kind of the internet boom, right? So I found a job in a company called Real Networks. I don't know if you guys are old enough. Maybe you have used our products before. It's called Real Players. So back then, you can
Yeah,
play
yeah, yeah. I remember that.
music, and also some broadcast stuff online. So I was working in Real Networks for 5.5 years, and then the dot-com bust happened. Right, there was a tons of company went out of business, and our company also had a few rounds of layoff. That makes me thinking: do I really want to be in a company that I don't have any control? And when the economy is bad or when the company is doing bad, you can easily let go. I saw my coworkers let go, even though I didn't lose my job, but I start to feel insecure that, is this something that I want to do for the long term? So that got me started thinking what I really want to be. And I was always interested in real estate and real estate investment, even though I just bought my house like a few years into my career and before I switched my career to realtor. But I always feel like I'm interested in that, and it kind of draws me to, to switch my career. So that's what I did back in 2004. And I'm very happy that I make that switch. And I've been a agent in Washington for 21 years since then.
Oh, I mean, that's pretty cool. When when you go from, I like, so I used to be with the mortgage industry, and it's like that too, right? Where when business is good, business is really good, but when it's not, there's always rounds of layoffs. And I completely understand the
Hmm.
I mean, the level of stress that you get not knowing whether you're gonna have a job or not in the next couple of months. In addition to that, the stress that's around the whole entire, the whole entire community, right? Or maybe not just community, but the employer, right?
Right.
I know, like, even though I don't get too stressed during layoffs, like, so to be honest, I've gone through like 4 rounds of layoffs,
Oh, wow.
never got laid off, right? And the people around you are just crazy stress, and it causes the whole entire environment to be stressful. So
Yeah.
I completely
Yeah.
understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
moved over to real estate. How long did you do real estate until you started investing?
So I think I bought my first house. I think my first step into real estate was buying my first house back in 2003. And then I bought that house for 300,000, I think a little over 300,000. Back then, it's a lot of money to me. And
Mhm.
my first step into real estate was, a couple years after that. We find that the traffic is pretty bad from that house to where my wife works, and it takes like 40 minutes, even though it's just a few miles. But the traffic is really bad, so we decided maybe we should just buy a house, but smaller house, closer to where she work, and just rent out this first house. And interesting thing is, we after we got married, we didn't have a lot of money, so we bought our first house, the 300,000 house, with only 5% down. So that's $15,000 investment, and then we had two loans, first and second loan. And then 3 years after that, we decided to buy another house, and that was an older, smaller house, closer to her workplace. And we bought that one for 400,000, so a little bit more expensive than the first house. And then we just rent out the first house, and that is kind of how we started. I want to show you. We still own that house, and you can see how
Oh,
much is
nice.
now. Yeah. So let me share
Yeah,
my
yeah. Show us. Show us.
screen
I'd love to see what.
quickly. And here we go. So this is a house. Can you guys see it?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's a suburb of Seattle. Back then, it was new construction. So, we painted the house a couple times, and we still own it. It's 4 bedroom, 2 bath, 2,200 square feet. And you can see the value went up and down during the last, whatever, 10 plus years. We own it more than 20 years now, and we bought it. Where is the history? Probably somewhere down here. We rented out many years too. You can see like rented for 27, 29. Now it's 3,500 a month. The first time we rented out, I think it was it was 2006, so it was like $2,000. So it went from a
Right.
$2,000 rent to 3,500. We bought it for 309 back in May 2003, and now Zillow says it's 1.3. So
Wow.
that kind of
Nice.
shows you, like, if you hold something long enough, in most areas, especially like in a appreciating area like Seattle, it creates a lot of wealth. This house, from $15,000 down payment that we put down, and it turned it into 1.3. We almost paid this off now. We didn't even, like, pay a lot extra, but it was, we went from a 30-year fixed loan to a 15-year fixed loan after some refi, and we almost own it free and clear. And this house alone in the past 20 years has created us over $1 million, in equity.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think something that people usually think about when they're buying one of those houses, they're thinking about how their cash flow is going to be, right? And
Right.
they're concerned about how much can they actually make a month on each of those properties. But to see the property values grow, that's like just tremendous. But I
Yeah.
mean, I think that you guys are on the West Coast, and so your
Right.
property values increases dramatically. That's it's just
It's insane.
insane
Yeah.
to like if you just held on to one house as a rental where you're the landlord of that house for 20 some years, you become an automatic millionaire, right?
Yes. And I
That's
witnessed a lot of
phenomenal.
my clients, they are not like intentional investors, but just by, a lot of Asians, they just like to hold real estate, right? Just
Hmm.
buy one house and then move to another one, and then, as a primary you can do a very low, you guys are in the loan business, you guys know, as a
Yeah.
primary you can do a much lower down payment, and then after 1 year, the lender allow you to move out, and your rate won't change, right? So you just move
Right.
into another house, and then a few years later you feel like, okay, I want another house, and then you can come up with the down payment, you just move on to another house. So a few of my clients in my past, 20-year agent life, they did it 3 to 4 times, and
Nice.
their houses sometimes is much higher value than this. So just by doing this, they now own like $6 million plus real estate in Seattle, and a few of the houses they own it long enough, they almost paid it off. So they could retire anywhere just by doing this very simple, but grow rich slow strategy. It takes a long time. It's not like flipping, you flip a house. These takes a much longer time, but they can repeat this process a few times and still achieve great results from it.
So if you're like, let's say 21-year-old, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're ready to just go and buy and hold, and you get into a market that's pretty decent, the likelihood is that you'll make a ton of money just holding on to it. And the thing is that tenants are paying for the mortgage payment, right? They're
Yes.
paying for insurance, right? And so, and as well as some of the utilities and such. And so there might be some costs involved, but to
Right.
just hold on to it until it reaches $1 million, I think that's phenomenal. I like, man, Laura, I think we're in the wrong market, dude.
Well,
I'm trying to
it's
move. I'm trying to move, you know?
you guys are in the cash flowing kind of market that you put the down payment, you can cash flow, but over here most of the property won't be easy to cash flow. So most of the people
Mhm,
investing long term is not for the cash flow, and it's for the appreciation. And I can share, my own experience with you is that I didn't cash flow in my first 5 years because it's
Mm,
just that the rent couldn't quite cover the mortgage, so I have to pay extra to cover the mortgage. But the
I
gap
see.
isn't that big that I think it's kind of forces me to be frugal and
mhm,
save money, because I have two houses, I need to make both payment. So every month I need to save a bit more money to to pay for this mortgage. But a couple years later, the rent in our area went up, catches up with the mortgage. Is a fixed loan, right? As long as
mhm,
you are conservative, you didn't do these crazy 0% down, adjustable rate mortgage that jump up all the time, then you can eventually catch up. And look at what happens now. My mortgage payment, I think, is like a little over 2,000, and I'm making 3,500 a month now. But
mhm,
that's 20 years later, not initially.
Yeah, yeah. When you started this, did you
Mhm.
expect the homes to appreciate so fast, or did you expect um like were you in a tough situation where you're trying to decide whether you should sell it or whether
Yeah.
you should rent it out?
Actually, it has, if you look at the Zillow graph, it has a lot of up and down in the past, couple of cycles, right? So right after I bought the first house in 2003, we have a really crazy boom market 2006 and 7. So this house went from 300 something to like in 3 years went up to 400 something. So I make like, wow, 20, 30%, right, in 3 years. So there's a
Nice.
temptation to like, okay, I make money. Should I sell, and buy another house? But I was like, I don't really need that profit right now. Maybe I should just, keep this investment for the long term. So that's I kept it. But then the value went down during
Mm,
the, 2009, 2010. It went
Mhm.
down to closer to what I bought it for. It went down to like 330, 350. So at that time, if you are panicking, if you sell, you lose some money, or maybe you break even. But I didn't sell because I don't need to, because I'm in it for more like a long term, right? So let
nice.
that pass, because the real estate market is really forgiving if you hold it long term. Even if
Yeah,
you buy
absolutely.
a really bad investment, real estate investment, but if you can make the payment, just keep it, right? Land is land. It's always
Mhm.
worth something. So, and the zoning and something can change locally, that suddenly, like the ADU thing, it's catching on in Seattle too. You can still make a lot of money if you don't have to sell. I think, a lot of people don't believe in real estate. Think, I saw so and so lose money. That's because, they are in a bad situation. They don't have enough reserves or whatever to keep holding it, and they have to sell. Then at a bad timing, they could lose money. But for me, if you can, stay afloat, keep the property, you will make money. So we went from, losing money, went back to make money. And then now, look at it, 1.3, even though the market's slowing down a bit here, but still, it's going to pick up in, a couple years and go straight up again.
So
So
did the
those
market come
are
down recently?
Excuse me?
Did the market come down recently
The
in
market slowed
Seattle?
down a little bit. I wouldn't say like it came down, but we just are seeing in our market, we are seeing about a 30% increase in inventory, which we haven't seen for a long time, because we are always a kind of lack of inventory market. We
Mhm.
always had a very low kind of, months of supply kind of situation here. But
Nice.
in the past couple of years, there's, this high interest rate, plus the economy is slowing down a bit, especially in the tech sector. So that kind of makes a impact in our market, but I'm still pretty optimistic about market.
Okay. And Laura, you had a question, right?
Yeah, so I mean, those are really good points that whether you're investing in stocks or real estate, right? Um, when do you sell, right? Or when do
Yeah.
you hold, right? How do you decide, right? It's always a gamble because obviously you saw the value of your real estate go double, right? And
Hmm.
then most people are like, "Wow, that's awesome. Should I sell now or should I keep holding it?" Right? And if you would have sold, then you would have missed out on it like 3xing and 4xing today, right?
Right.
Um, so it's very interesting, right? So and you still own that property today. So
Yes.
obviously the play, I guess, is hold on for it forever, right? Hold on to real estate forever.
Well, to be honest with you, I might move back into this house, even though we haven't lived in
Wow.
it for over 20 years. But, you always have to keep thinking down the road, 5, 10 years down the road. What is my plan and strategy, right? How do I save tax, save money? One
Mhm.
of the plan for us is, we are going to become empty nesters in a few years. And then we've stayed in this current house long enough that we have the 2 year primary residence
Mhm.
qualification. So if we sell this, we can save on the 500K. But on the first house that we bought, we haven't lived in it for 20
Right.
plus years. So after we sell this house, if we move back into this first house and live there for a couple more years, we could regain that status to have the
Correct.
500K for a married couple, to save, on capital gain tax.
Let's talk about ADUs. You brought that up.
Yeah.
So in Seattle, right?
Mhm.
Not a lot of people know about ADUs, accessory dwelling units. Can you explain what ADU is? Why is that important for you as an investor? What does that allow you to do?
Right. ADU is basically a small dwelling unit, or sometimes we call mother-in-law unit in the backyard. You can call it backyard, cottage. So in our area, there's a size limitation to it. You couldn't build a super big house. It's typically about 1,000 square feet to maybe a 1,200 square feet. It could be 1 story or 2 story. It could be on top of a garage. It could be a attached ADU, or it could be a DADU, so a detached ADU. So in our area, we passed a few significant new regulations that they are kind of following the footsteps of California, abandoning the single family zoning. Because in the past, like, okay, we have a lot of majority of the land here is zone single family, right? You can only have one house on it unless you can, subdivide it if the land is large enough. But now, because of the housing shortage, they figure out that, hey, if we don't increase the density, how are we gonna, support the population growth in Seattle or the Washington state? So they changed the zoning. They allow, the cities to increase density. At the minimum, they can build one ADU on every, single family zone house here. And some cities you can build a, ADU, so it could be even 2 or more units on the same lot. So there's a lot of new regulations to it, and there's a lot of consultants and classes. So if clients are interested in learning how to make use of their land, that they can build another unit. And the more important factor is, how do you make money, right? Because yeah, you can build another house, but can you make money from that house? So the law here, there's some loopholes that you can set up a condominium association and split the main house from the small house. So you could sell off the small house as a condo here. So there are a lot of new
That's so
developments.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
I think
that's wild.
in some cities it's already happening. In Seattle it's just starting, but I think we are
Mhm.
going to see a lot more of this kind of development coming up, and
Yeah.
every homeowner in Washington can take advantage of that.
Nice.
Now, when you build an ADU, so just in my own city of Milwaukee, they just passed the
Mhm.
rule.
Right.
They are allowing ADUs now. It just like literally passed about a month ago.
Mhm.
However, it is limited to owner occupied primary residence only, right?
Mhm.
So meaning you can't be an investor. So you have to live in the primary home in order to build an ADU on that lot. Is that the same rule there, or are you guys
No, I
fair
think,
game?
in the past it is that way, but now because the whole state is trying to push more development, so
Mhm.
they take that out. You don't have to. Yeah, you can rent it out.
Right. So then somebody like you who has that $1 million, home from 20 years ago that's almost paid off, you could probably leverage some equity out of that to build an ADU or two, right?
Yes and no. You really have to read into the fine prints of
Mhm.
these laws too, and just don't listen to one website said, hey, do this and you can do it.
Mhm.
Because be careful with HOA rules,
Oh yeah.
because you still have to respect the HOA rules. You look at my house; it's a newer construction, 20 years ago. We still have a HOA, and
Mhm.
and also that house you can't really tell, it's a really tiny lot house, so you can't have enough land to
Okay.
build an ADU, even if the HOA CCNRs allows it.
Mm, got it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's move on to talk about your investor experience.
Mhm.
When did you start that? What's your investment journey look like?
Yeah, so I can tell you a funny story. Is I never thought I will be a investor, other than I bought a new house and rent out my old one, because I don't know how to start, right? I never done, other than being an agent for a few years, I've never done any investor deal. So I ran into this older guy, a senior guy I met from my church. That I know him, but we're not super close. But he wants to find investment to purchase for his family. So he find this piece of property. I'm gonna share it with you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay. Dun dun. Can you guys see it?
Yep.
Yep. So now you're like, whoa, 800K. That doesn't look like 800K. It looks like a crappy house from the exterior photo. But so he find this property back, during 2010, during the downturn of the market, and I can show you how much it was asking for back then. Can see listed for sale 197 in January of 2010. We bought it March 10, 2010 for $190,000. So a little bit over, below the asking price. So the story was he find this property, but he's older. He's much older. He's like almost retired age at that point. And then he doesn't want to go into investment himself because he's getting older. He doesn't have a lot of energy, and he wants to buy this, but only with, like, if he can find a partner. And he asked me whether, I want to become his partner. And I was like, okay, I don't know him that well, but at the same time, when we met at church, we know each other for a few years. But my thinking was, if I sell this, I can make a little bit of money from the commission, which is great. And, 20% down to buy this. And so 190. So for me, it's, less than $20,000 investment. And I can learn from a seasoned investor because he's owned real estate for almost his entire adult life. So, and I jumped on this opportunity. I said, yes, let's buy this together. And then we bought it for 190. Of course, it being a bank-owned property, the condition was really bad, so we had to put in a lot of sweat equity in it. So him and I and our family, we went to this house. We painted the house together, trying to save some money, and then we hire contractors to kind of make repairs, make it back into a rentable condition. So I think we put in maybe like $10,000 plus sweat equity in it. So total of 200,000 investment in it. But I guess it's not real 200,000 because its down payment is 20% plus the 10K in the repair cost. And we hold it. The reason why he's interested in buying this main reason is the land, because the previous owner has already hired architect to apply for permit. And at that point, the city has approved the permit to build like 10 unit townhouse community in there, but he didn't have money because I guess the market started to, go down. So he didn't build it. But we know that the potential is you can build a, 10 unit 10 unit development there. But we didn't build it as well because it's a little bit outside of our arena to do development and also the capital involved with it. But we did end up selling it in 2018, and you can see it for $490,000. So in little over 8 years, this property went from 190 to 490. So that's almost 3x the money too. And look at it, how much it's worth now, 7 years later, from 400 something to 800 something. So if we hold on to this for now, then this is over 800K right now.
Wow.
Yeah, that's super awesome. That's yeah, like, have you ever had any deals go bad? Because these two are like really, really, really good examples of success, right?
Right.
Sometimes as investors, we do run into difficult situations, right? Can
Yeah,
you talk a little
definitely.
bit about?
I can share because I've, other than, once we started this investment journey, then I started to, get really interested in learning other type of investments too, right? Not only, this, we also got into apartment investing with this partner. We bought a apartment complex in Seattle, and ran into its own challenges too. It's not like the deal is bad, but it's more from a kind of a management standpoint. There's a lot of things that we didn't expect, like
Mhm.
homelessness, because when we
Mhm.
bought it, we know that the area isn't the best area, but we know that it's still a decent area. You can find good renters, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't invest in that area. But as you know, Seattle start to have a lot more crime and homeless problems later on, and that area is really also affected by it. It's not really close to downtown where we have a lot of homeless, but they start to go, put up tents everywhere else near
Yeah.
Seattle, and this property is in Seattle, and so we start to see homeless people kind of sleep on the walkway outside our apartments,
Oh,
and
wow.
the tenants call police and complain that, hey, there's drunk people sleeping on the hallway. And so what we end up doing is, like, we need to brainstorm how to kind of secure and protect our property, right? So
Mhm.
we end
Mhm.
up installing a security gates in the front, and that you need to put in, like, the password to go into it. And however, things just went downhill a few years later. I think it was maybe like 5 years ago. Then there's a homeless encampment, like, right across the street from our apartment,
Oh, wow.
and they were there for about 2 or 3 weeks. And then when they got moved, one of the tent moved right in front of our apartment.
Mm.
So things like that, happened that we couldn't predict when we bought the property. But I guess, we just have to think of, problem solving, right? When things happen, how do we problem solve, and how do we move on from here, right? Because that got us thinking that, hey, with all the homeless problem, crime problem, and all the no eviction laws in Washington during COVID, got us thinking that maybe Seattle, or the kind of greater Seattle area, isn't the best area to invest in the long run. So that got us thinking to move some of our investment focus elsewhere.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's I mean, sometimes like when you built up a good amount of wealth, diversifying and being in different locations really helps out. But I've never thought of homeless issues arriving at my doorsteps, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
that's a huge takeaway. I know who to call now
Yeah.
if I run into that situation.
Yeah.
Uh,
Also, I want to answer your question about a deal gone bad. Actually, in the past couple years, I did have some deals that I lose money, and I learned big lessons from it. So that is through syndication. So I don't know if you
mm,
guys have experience with real estate syndication.
Yeah, I've done syndication myself, but for the
Okay.
listeners that don't know what syndication is, can you kind of just quickly explain?
Yeah, so basically syndication has two main roles, and a group of people called GPs, general partner. They are the one that source the deal, they put the deal together, they go get a loan, and then they manage the deal, and then they sell the deal later on, right? So those are the main people that's behind the deal. And there's another group called limited partner LPs. That's people like me. We don't want to daily manage this deal. We just want to put money into the deal and get money out of the deal, when they sell. So that's how I start investing in some of other people's deal, because leverage other people's time and deals, and that I don't have time to find a deal, especially when you start to diversify, invest in different state, different type of property. Syndication is a great way. So I started syndication investing about 4 years ago. I think 2021 is the first year I started, and initially it went super well. So I got to know this syndicator through, I joined a kind of a mentorship group in Texas. It's a pretty big name mentorship group, and got to know network with a bunch of people. And she was one of the student there, and she was very successful in investing in multifamily. So
Mhm.
I invested in one of her deals in, I think, 2021. That's a deal in Arizona, and
Mm.
right, you know, within, I would say, less than a year and a half, we sold that deal and more than double our money. So
Wow.
we
Nice, nice.
tasted really early, success back then, and that makes me think, okay, this is so easy. I don't even have to lift a finger and just like wire money and money back to me within like a little over a year, and bam, double. So we ended up, spending all the money that we made from that deal and split it into a couple deals, and then invest more in her deals. And then also she keeps coming up with new deals, so we keep investing. So I think I ended up investing about maybe seven or eight deals from that.
Hmm.
But I guess we didn't really fully look at everything from, I guess, the success from it. And a lot of it is the timing and luck, and also the type of, the market, right? The market is really
Mhm,
good.
mhm,
Everybody is crazy about apartment buying, and
Mhm.
there's this whole market of all kind of students from that organization buying those deals as well. And when the market, start to slow down due to the higher interest rate, and a lot of these deals start to have problems. So I
mm.
would say, all of her deals, now is dead, foreclosed, or
Wow.
sold at a
Oh,
loss.
wow.
And we ended up, losing all our money in all these syndications. So
Oh, boy.
that is a big mistake and lesson we learn. And sometimes, you have to understand there's risk in investing in other people's deal. Money come quick
Yeah.
sometimes, but money gone even quicker in those situations. Well, I guess over the last couple of years, but right now, I'm super careful in terms of investing again in syndication, because I felt like there's so much risk factors you can't really easily eliminate.
Mm.
I see, I see. So, would you say that the GP made out okay, or did the did everybody lose money on those deals?
I couldn't say about the GP because I don't have her books, but
Okay, okay.
I tend to believe her that she says she put a lot of her money into the deals as well. So I
Yeah,
think everybody kind of lose in that situation.
I see, I see. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess if they went into foreclosure, nobody's winning, right?
right,
Yeah.
So,
right. Yeah.
okay, that makes
A bit
sense.
of, I think it's like kind of growing too fast. Once you have success, you start to duplicate that success, and everybody, is looking at the money and not
Mhm,
at
mhm,
everything else.
Yeah. So
yeah,
that's an interesting thing that they say a lot of times that what is it? A rising tide lifts all boats, right?
Yeah,
So when the market's good and everything's hot, I mean, you're selling, you're reselling at a higher price every time. And then you have that downturn come real quick, right? Like you guys experienced the rate, right? The rate
mhm,
like doubled. Now when those initial underwriting, right, they were writing that they're gonna, they bought it maybe at a what, at 4%, and they're gonna exit at a 5 or something like that. All of a sudden, rates were like 7, 8. Now it doesn't pencil out anymore,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you're like,
And
oh,
also, a lot of the market, when they project, what is
mm-hmm,
the NOI down the road, they project,
mm-hmm,
this area will have rent increase. We are gonna do these capex thing, and we're
mm-hmm,
gonna, increase the rent by 30%, whatever. And some of it didn't happen because,
right,
like, just like the Arizona market, and also the Seattle market, we are overbuilt in the past couple of years. Even the Seattle market, the rents
mhm,
are kind of not increasing because we have so much, inventory coming on the market, Arizona as well. So sometimes you plan, you can have the rent increase, you can increase the value, but it didn't happen because, like,
Right.
there's just so much new construction going on. And it's really hard to compete with those new construction when they have so much amenities and they can do
Oh
like
yeah.
incentives and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we were at EXPCon, right? And I think we watched one of those presentations. Was it Johnny? I don't know, CL, were you in that one with the commercial co-star one? I think the co-star guy was talking about it.
No, I wasn't in there.
Okay, so he was talking
Yeah,
about multifamily, and he
right.
was talking about Class A, brand new construction. He was talking about all the major metros, pretty much
Hmm.
your Dallas, your Seattle, things like that.
Right.
But he was saying that nowadays with these Class A's, they're struggling. They have to give up 3 to 4 months of free rent just
Yep.
to get somebody in the door, and it's like, wow, that's
Yeah.
that's a long
Yeah.
time to
I think
give up
we
free rent.
we as small investors just needs to go back to the fundamentals and just don't look at all these new shiny things, because
Mhm.
back then, a couple years ago, one of the shiny thing that in Seattle people keep saying is building these micro apartments, right? Because the rents are so expensive, you can build these 200 square feet micro apartment, and still can make a lot of money, rent these out for like 1,400 a month. 100 square feet micro apartment that you don't have a kitchen, you have a communal kitchen, and then you don't have a laundry room, and then you basically have a small room with a shower and a microwave and a sink, and you can rent it out for like $1,200 to $1,500 in Seattle.
Oh, wow.
And there, we also consider, hey, maybe we should get into that and turn some of our unit into micro apartments, and you can make 2 times, 3 times the rent. But look at it now. I just look at the article right now. Those apartments are struggling
Oh,
because
Mhm.
now with the new construction, they have a whole new apartment that can rent pretty much the same price as the micro apartment, and they have swimming pool, they have gym, they have everything. Versus who's
Wow.
gonna want to stay in a 100 to 200 square feet space for the same price, right? So
Right,
like
right.
wow.
yeah, so sometimes these trendy stuff, you really have to
Mhm.
be careful.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's
Mhm.
definitely a common problem for investors, right, Johnny? Chasing the shiny object syndrome.
I know, I know. I talk to Laura about that all the time. I'm like, I can't help it. Being an entrepreneur as well as being an investor, you're always like, wait, hold up. Like this deal might make a ton of money and we need to move that direction. But then of course, you gotta check yourself every so often and just say, hey, does that actually fit in with what, my end goals are? Does it fit in with what I'm doing? Is it gonna take more time? Like that's I think something that I struggle with is just you're too involved in too many things, and so you just don't have enough time to take on new things. So if you take on new things, will it distract you from the current things that you're that are doing really really well? Or do you want to be mediocre at doing five things, or be great at just doing one thing and being super successful? I think it's super super difficult to deal with.
Yep.
um but hey, so before we jumped on, you had mentioned a little bit about taking a smaller unit and then investing it into a larger unit and
Mhm.
making pretty good money on it. Can you explain more about that?
Yeah. So we the same investor that I partnered up with, we ended up investing in a lot more deals. And one of the deal following that 190,000 bank owned was we started to follow a failed investor who is the previous owner of our the 190K deal. We saw that
Mhm.
he owns a lot of land properties in the same city that we bought this property, and we know that he's falling, the tower is falling, so we just need to
Mm.
follow where his property is going to get bank owned and just buy up those property. So we track those down. We know that we kind of drove and see, okay, this house looks like abandoned, it's going to come on market, so we prepare some funding, and we ended up buying four of his properties. We could bought more, but like we went out of cash. And at that time, if you remember, all these banks are getting really restrictive about how many loans you can get. I think it was four. So we kind of maxed out on, the loans that we can get. And we ended up, using cash to, buy those property. So we bought four of his properties. They are all neighboring adjoining properties.
Okay.
And total cost to purchase those was around 700K, and we ended up selling it a couple years ago to a local builder for almost $3 million. So that
Nice.
we also 4x, and we ended up 1031 exchange it to a different market. So we thought the Seattle market is really competitive, saturated. If we want more growth, appreciation and cash flow, because we started to think that, hey, we are at an age that, when we are young, we can have a 20-year window, like to
Mhm.
see the price to appreciate. But I'm not like a 20-some-year-old anymore. So
Right.
now if I need to hold this for 20 years, I
You're
don't
only
know.
30. You only look 30. What are you talking about?
No, I'm older than you, I think. But any
You think?
anyway, so I started to care more about, hey, just a little bit less appreciation, but still good appreciation market. But I want a little bit more balance in cash flow as well. The cash flow in Seattle is really bad. So when we do 1031, start to look elsewhere. But then we also thought, it should be something that's still within the Washington state, drivable if we want to drive there and look at it and, do something. So we ended up looking in Eastern Washington, in Spokane, which is a very big city in East Washington, good
Mhm.
population growth, a lot of university there, and close to Idaho and whatnot. So we 1031 exchanged that 3 million property into a 5.3 million property in Spokane, which is a 2-year-old, almost brand new development of 6 duplexes. And
Nice.
they are. Let me see if I can put it up.
Yeah, yeah.
Can put it up. So let me share.
Oh, I think he hit the wrong button. He exited. We'll wait for Seattle to come back. But wow,
it's so interesting that for
there
him,
he
he's
is.
just like it's
I
long-term hold, right?
I click on the wrong share button, which is
You
exit.
click exit.
What happens? Would the stream continue back?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's we're
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
we're
still
right. We're
live.
still in.
all
We're
right,
still
all
in.
right.
We got you back on. We got you back.
My
All good.
bad. I
All
couldn't call
good.
me a tech person anymore. Sorry, I've been out of tech for 21 years, so I need to retrain myself.
No worries.
So let me share this and you can see now it went from 4 piece of junk bank owned property to 12 of these townhouse style double car garage with AC, with backyard, all new, brand new construction. Look how beautiful this is.
Nice. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is what we exchange it into. So
Mhm.
what I'm trying to share and encourage, your listener is, you can start small, right? Look how small I started. I started with buying a primary home with 5% down, $15,000. And then I got into second property with 10% down, you know, $19,000. And then later on, we just keep buying, and those are not big properties. We bought four properties that's worth 700K, and that's not that much. I mean, like, a lot of the listeners, they can do that too. But if you hold it long and steady, 10 years later, 20 years later, that $15,000 starting point can end up to be, a 12-unit apartment, townhouse style apartment complex that's 5 mil plus. And I'm not a very like smart investor. I'm not, and I'm just a very average person that just, take a little step at a time and learn along the way. And sometimes you just have to do it, right? If you're always trying, want to do it but never take the step to invest, then you wouldn't get here. But if you are willing to take a leap of faith, and sometimes another learning I have is this is don't do it alone. Like me, I didn't do this alone. I didn't, of course the first house was my primary home. I bought it myself, but later on, find people, like-minded people, to do it with you. And there's a lot of advantage to that. You guys have different strength, different personality, and put the resources and financial money together. And, this is how we end up.
No, that's super awesome. I think that, like, to see your wealth build over time. I think, a lot of people are thinking, like, I think for the people that are our age, right, they might think it's too late, but it's never too late to jump in, right?
Hmm.
Because you learn along the way, right? Like, I
Right.
know that when you first did your first one, you probably weren't thinking about doing all these other ones, right? But then after you got your first one, then you're like, okay, I learned it. And so I know how to kind of handle it. If there was a partner that can help me, then we can jump into it together and take a little bit of risk and see where it goes. And that's done really, really well for you, right? Um,
Yeah.
and
I'm
and
super
so
thankful for my partner too, because he's willing to, ask me to be his partner, and I can kind of learn from him, a more seasoned investor. And that's, sometimes you have to seek out those opportunity. I was lucky that it kind of fall into my laps, but not
mhm,
everybody have that kind of opportunity. So if you see, a mentor, investor, just don't be afraid and go out and ask, especially for people that is their age. Sometimes they don't want more money, but they want to pass on certain like legacy to people. Like my
mhm,
partner, he passed on his knowledge and legacy to me. And for me, if I see a younger investor and who asks me questions, I'll be, more than happy to, if I'm able to provide my, you know knowledge and my experience, and maybe even partner up with, some investors.
So
no,
CL,
that's
you said that he seeked you out versus you seeking him, asking him to be a
Right.
partner. What made you think? Why did he ask you to be a partner? Why would he ask you? Why do you think that?
um I don't know. I felt like maybe we just bonded really well,
Mm,
and we have the same faith, and we've already known each other for a while through church and
mhm.
different, opportunity that we serve together. And maybe it's part of it. It's God's plan. So it's really special that it grew into a relationship too, more than just like client or partners. It's more like, you know a master and a disciple, or a father and son, because he's much older than me. So
mhm,
now
mhm.
we are really close. I consider him my family,
Nice.
and
Mm.
we ended up buying he's retired now, so he owns a house in Arizona, part-time. And we bought a house like 5 minutes from him too. So
Wow,
like,
Nice.
you
cool.
can never, like, imagine how one decision would turn out, not only financially, but on a kind of relational level, and how it impacts your future.
Definitely,
Mhm.
definitely.
That's so awesome. That's
I'm grateful
um
for everything.
Yeah, so definitely seek out people who are a little bit more knowledgeable. He must have came to you because you probably already had some knowledge in investing, right? You had your first rental already, right? Yeah, so you probably have a similar mindset. You probably are in real estate, and
Mhm.
so sometimes you just have to jump in and
Right.
gain a little bit of knowledge. And you got, I think some of the older guys, right? They don't want to do all the running around looking for the deals,
Correct.
right? They want to just be like, hey, so if I run the numbers and they work, I got the money, so I'd like to move forward, but
Yeah.
I need someone to run around for me to get things
Right.
done. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
and so I
Yeah.
think if you can partner up with someone like that, that's
Right. You can
phenomenal.
provide the hustle. You can do a lot of running around for him, and he can be the kind of the brain behind it.
Mhm.
Oh, that's super awesome. Partnerships are great. And I have a few partners myself, and they're super helpful with some of the things that needs to be done. I do go out of my way for my partners to
Hmm.
make sure I take care of them as best as I can, just because they're very, very solid people. Both from so like I do a bunch of different things, right? So like both from the rental perspective, long-term rental that
Hmm.
we do, as well as to the partners that do private lending with me. We like
Wow.
we're kind of a tight knit group. We don't go too far from what it is that we're currently doing. And it's a group that we built that we trust one another, so that we when we go into business, we go into business with the intentions of making sure we have money. Um, and I think that, as an investor, this is just my opinion. I mean, I'm sure you have way more experience than I do, but you got to go in the deal conservatively, right?
Right.
So you have to understand that, hey, like if you're gonna do a flip, right, you got to put
Mm.
in, like I put an additional 25% on all of my expenses on a flip, right, or a burr. That's the same thing with when you're going into a commercial transaction. Like sometimes you have to, like today, for example, it
Hmm.
wasn't a commercial transaction, but I had to, like at the buy, I made an offer, and at the buy, you have to be extremely low in order to make the numbers make sense. And
Right.
so at first, I wanted to offer more, and I talked to the realtor, and I was like, hey, would they take this number? And then when that was before I saw the property, and he was like, go take a look at the property and then get back to me. And I went into the property, and I was like, whoa, this thing needs way more work than I thought. And so I had to change my numbers, and like I think it's going to be like my offer is like at least 60,000 under asking.
Yeah.
And but the thing is that you still have to send out the offer and see if it's something that they're willing to take, because if
Right.
they are, then there's a possibility of producing additional income on that. And there's going to be a lot of work involved, a lot of challenges, but um it's not something that no one else can do, right? I think that
Right.
if we all just put our efforts in, worked hard, improvise, pivot when you have to pivot,
Hmm.
like with the homeless and stuff, like how do you handle that? And that's something that might be new. So you have to come together with your partners, or
Right.
just like you have to think with yourself. And like for me, I talk to Chat GPT all the time, right? To
Yeah.
try to
It's our
figure out
latest partner.
solutions.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep. Talking about Burr, I also done one Burr deal that I'm pretty proud of. It's also a bank owned that we purchased from a bank. It's a 3 unit apartment, and we bought it with cash because it's not financeable. The condition, like it's moldy and the roof is
Mhm.
leaking. We bought it and then we fix it up and then we pull money out of it. We pull money out of it 2 times already, so
Nice.
it funded a lot of deals, and I think it's a great strategy. Even though it might be a little bit harder to do with a high interest rate environment, right now in Seattle, but if you can pull it off, find a deal that you can burr in, Seattle or elsewhere, that's a great way to invest.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree. And
Hmm.
yeah, for the viewers, if you guys don't know what a burr is, go back and check out our previous episodes. We talk about it. So, just so you guys know, so it's a very lucrative way. So, we're kind of at the end of the hour. So, Laura, do
Great.
you mind asking the final questions?
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah. We can do
rapid.
the final questions here. So you ready for the same 4 questions we asked all our guests here, CL? So
Okay.
rapid fire questions here. So
Hmm.
uh based on everything you've been through, all your success you've had, what would you say your one ninja skill is that you're really good at?
I think it's simplifying, the situation and also solve problems. So, our job, as an investor or realtor is solve others' problem, but you need to simplify a question and find the best solution forward.
Yes, that's a great one. Love that one. Yeah, like somebody said, the bigger problems you can solve, the more money you can make, right?
Agree, 100%.
All right. How do you keep your skills sharp?
I listen to a lot of podcasts, when I'm driving because we drive a lot. And also, audiobooks because, you just can't, find time to read books. You can always find time to read, listen to books. And also, just mastermind with, like-minded people like you guys. I met you guys at EXP Con. So I'm so happy that I joined EXP last year that I got a lot more opportunity to reach out to find great people like you guys to help me to grow more.
Yeah, definitely. I cannot agree more. Um, Speaking of, you mentioned audiobooks.
Yes.
I mean, this could include audiobook too, but
Yeah.
what's the one book that has, pretty much changed your mindset, how you do your business?
A couple of books. I have some here too. So,
Okay. Yeah.
like, of course, Reach That Poor Dad, right? I
Oh
didn't
yeah.
have
Oh
that
yeah.
book here right in front of me, but Reach That Poor Dad is one of the book I make my son read.
Mhm.
I pay him to read if he couldn't read it, but I think that changed my mindset. Second book is this one, Millionaire Real Estate Investor by the Keller, Gary Keller. So
Uh-huh.
that's a lot, give me a lot of inspiration about how to be a great investor.
Okay.
Uh,
Nice.
as an investor or a realtor, you need to be great with negotiations. So I recommend the book Never Split the Difference. And that's a great book. It's an audio book. And then in terms of, thinking about retirement and how to leave a legacy, I recommend this book called Die with Zero. I don't
Oh,
know if you
okay.
heard about it. So it tells you, how not to leave all the money at the end, but how do you maximize your life experience and help out your family along the way, not at the end.
Wow.
Nice. Nice.
And
Okay.
yeah, that's about it. Oh, there's one more book I've been reading right now that I really like is this one called How to Fail at Everything and Still Win Big.
Wow.
Because this one is by the author of Dilbert, Scott Adams. And a
Dilbert.
lot of people think that, yeah, oh, I have to be so smart. I have to be, better than others in all these things. But that's not true. You can fail at a lot of things and
Mhm.
still become very successful. And there's a very good chapter in this called Success of Math. And it talks about you can be a very average person, but if you get good skill set in, certain things like, different type of things like persuasion, psychology, public speaking, writing skills, above average skill, then you can have a much higher percentage of success compared with other people. So you don't need to be the smartest person in the room.
Nice. I'm gonna have to add those two to my to read list here.
Yeah.
All right. Last and final question. If we're ever visiting your hometown, Seattle, what's the best food place that we should try?
Okay. So I'm Chinese, so I'm gonna recommend Chinese food. So we have Ding Tai Fung here, which is pretty good, which you can find in some other cities too. But there's a couple other Chinese restaurants that's good. One is called Facing East, and it's a Taiwanese restaurant. And then there's, if you like noodles and northern Chinese food, there's one called Do Zone. So they have over 10 branches in restaurants in Seattle area.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to try that out next time I'm in Seattle.
Yeah. Well, hit me up if you're in Seattle.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. So that concludes our episode here, episode 8, where we went over everything with CL from investing in long term, just using your primary home, all the way to doing apartments, doing development stuff. I think that like this is super good, and I want to thank you so much, CL, for joining us and going through some of your experiences. I think our viewers would take back a ton on this, and I look forward maybe in the future when you do another project or something like that, we can have you back on and go over some of the other projects. We didn't even get a chance to talk about Airbnb, right? And I from
Right. Yeah,
my
I have
understanding
four
is you did
Airbnb
some of that
too.
too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
How
Yeah.
can somebody
So
stay in touch with you, CL?
So you can search me up CL Tang Group on different social media. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Zillow. And yeah, just follow me on social media.
All right,
Sweet.
CL Tang Group, right?
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you so much, Johnny
Yeah.
and Laura. It's great to know you guys, and I hope that we will see each other again very soon.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll be in Vancouver if you decide you want to go up there.
Yeah, it's only 3 hours drive, and they have good food. So let's get together and bring you to try out some good Cantonese food.
Awesome.
Sweet. I'm
So
psyched for
that'll
it.
be EXPCon Vancouver, April 20th, around there.
Yeah, I
All
look
right.
forward to mainly just networking and learning from you guys, and we are all in this to build more passive income for our family, and EXP is another revenue avenue to reach that goal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. All right. Yeah,
It
I
must
think
be
that's all I
late
got.
over there in Minnesota and Milwaukee, but thank you again for talking to me, and see you guys next time.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
we'll see you next time in person. Thank you for tuning in. Next week, guys, we've got a commercial real estate rock star coming to join our show. Katie, out of the DFW area. So she's not your typical commercial real estate agent. So she's going to be sharing with us her journey and what that looks like. So if you're curious about commercial real estate at all, how that looks like, make sure you tune in next Sunday at 7 o'clock Central Time. Hit subscribe, follow us, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks, CL. Later.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.